Here's some big news coming in after Haridwar hate speeches in Chhasttisgarh. Dharam Sansad now. Another hate speech that's currently being delivered on your screens right now is an attendee delivering hate speech. Attendee claims Kashmir will be repeated if a Muslim becomes Prime Minister. Attendee Kalicharan abuses Owaisi, calls for electing Hindu hardliner as India's next leader. Dharam Sansad comes to an abrupt end as the main patron, Dharam Sansad, distances himself from the hate speeches. Let's take a quick listen.
Owaisi, उसने बोला था 15 मिनट पुलिस हटाओ, हिंदुओं को काट डालेंगे। तो हवा में लात मारी थी क्या उसने? नहीं, हवा में लात नहीं मारी उसने। सच्ची में मुसलमानों की तैयारियां हैं। अगर धर्म का संरक्षण करना है तो राजा कट्टर हिंदूवादी बिठाओ।
Quickly got across to T.S. Singh Dio, Chhasttisgarh minister joining us. Mr. Dio, here is another attempt to hate speech that we see in Chhasttisgarh. This man here, he's speaking on how a Hindu hardliner must be the next Prime Minister, or he must be elected as the Prime Minister of India. If anybody else, then Kashmir will be repeated. We saw what happened in the Dharam Sansad in Haridwar. Of course, a lot of backlash that's come in the way while they've spoken on open genocide with regards to Muslims. Here's another attempt at a hate speech in Chhattisgarh. Your opinion on this?
Good evening to all the viewers. It is unfortunate that in a society we feel as egalitarian, which has progressed from medieval and later modern times to the current era, where we are reaching out to the skies. We have people with a mindset who strategically attempt to rouse sentiments. It is unthinkable that people can compare the father of a nation, a world-renowned leader, with a person who is murdered being compared to a person who is linked with hardline thoughts and who was himself implicated, though let off, in the murder of our father of the nation. And it is such people who espouse these views, which you played on the screen just a while ago, who are attempting to somehow rouse, that hunger for power and to the hunger to remain in power, rouse sentiments of the people that somehow there'll be a polarization and we continue to stay in power. So this hunger for power in a nation which cherishes the ideals of Vasudeva Kai Kutumbakam. The world is a community, world is a village, world is a household. A nation, a country which has its philosophical and religious ethos in an all-inclusive worldview. We have people trying to preach and propagate such views. It is extremely sad. And as far as action is concerned, it is a matter of law and order if it comes under its review, and those who are responsible for discharge of their duties to maintain law and order, they will, I'm sure, take cognizance and do the needful.
Mr. Dio, here we're looking at the priests on your screen and even the Dharam Sansad that took place in Chhattisgarh, as well as the Dharam Sansad in Haridwar that was underway, which received a lot of backlash on constantly them speaking on the lines of Hinduism being under threat, and if at all anybody else from any other religion becomes a leader, then they will be marginalized, and therefore a Hindu hardliner itself must lead the country, considering it's a Hindu nation. This is what they've been stressing on constantly. What's this fear? Where is this coming from?
It is absurd, and it is not a fear. It is a propaganda. Had it been a fear, there would maybe have been some ground to talk about it. There is absolutely no fear. This is propaganda aimed at rousing sentiments. Our philosophies, our societies, our religious ethos, it is millenniums old. Was there any such threat to it over these years when so many people came into this geographical area which we know as Bharat and which we know today as India? What impact have all those worldviews all those people coming in from across the geographical borders of our country had on our religious ethos. It is so rich, it is so deep. The very concept of Brahm, there is nothing in the world which equals that. We have Vivekananda saying that accept all religions, and we have Vivekananda stating that he has reached the stage of Brahm through the path of every religion on earth. So that is the depth of Indian religion, that is the depth of Indian philosophy. And these rumor mongers or fear mongers or those who feel they may gain some either position for themselves, some publicity for themselves, are the only ones who would think of doing such a thing. It's absurd to think of any world view impacting deep-rooted philosophical and religious ethos of this country. I have not come across any worldview which would be able to go beyond what we have today.
Well, Mr. Deo, here, furthermore, in this on this platform, the priest goes on to speak of, or rather abuse Gandhi, and also endorses Nathuram Godse, almost literally insulting Mahatma Gandhi on that platform as well. And we saw someone also distancing themselves. In fact, it came to an end. The Dharam Sansad came to a quick end when the main patron of it, Ram Sundar, distanced himself from the hate speeches. So this is quite worrying, because at one point this was spoken subtly, and now it's echoed on mics at open platforms.
As far as the legality of the issue is concerned, it is another matter. Like I mentioned earlier, that is for those who are responsible for ensuring law and order in the state and in the country. They would take cognizance and do whatever is necessary. As you're yourself mentioning, the people leading this forum, they distance themselves from such views. So that is the reality of our country, that there are people who see beyond these rabble-rousers and know that the true philosophical and religious ethos of the country is not limited to hate. It is love. It is all-embracing. It is all-inclusive. These people who come on the stage wanting to draw attention will appear in a democratic setup which allows what we call freedom of speech. So that's okay. But they will not be having any long-term impact on such a deep philosophy and such a deep religious ethos as we have in the country.
But a final word on whether action will be taken, Mr. Deo.
That is for the authorities to see. I cannot preempt anything that would appear to be expressing a particular view which could be mine. It is for the authorities. It should be even-handed. It should be neutral. It should be seen in terms of black and white, as it is written on the pages of the IPC or other penal codes. That is where the action should lie. It should not be for us to say one thing or the other.
Mr. Deo, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Here we see a priest on a platform, a Dharam Sansad in Chhasttisgarh, literally insulting Mahatma Gandhi, endorsing Nathuram Godse, speaking of how Kashmir will be repeated if at all a Muslim is voted to power, and that a Hindu hardliner itself must be the next leader of the nation.